Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us to stay curious today. We are so proud that you have made this our 600th episode. Marty Winkle, my friend along this 2 year journey, over 2 year journey, born out of the pandemic. Stay Curious was designed to outreach to schools during the pandemic that we knew would be wanting to have some uh, trips to museums virtually. And that's what we were gearing up for. And Stay Curious, 600 episodes later, has turned into a good source of space history, astronaut birthdays, and of course, shuttle history like we feel no one else can present it to you out there, including our monthly Shuttles of the Month, kicked off every month by the voice of NASA, Hugh Harris. So we're going to talk a little bit about how appreciative we are for you hanging along for over 2.5 years here, 600 episodes, Marty. And Marty's been with me on every one. He's engineering our Streamlabs computer situation here so we can present a program that, thanks to Jessica Galloway, turning on to that. A lot of people I want to thank, particularly Bruce Jacobs, our IT manager, who has aggressively gotten Stay Curious on YouTube. And I believe Bruce told me we've made something like $7 or $8 or $16 in since April monetizing YouTube. But it'll come as you tell your friends about Stay Curious, a great little video podcast where we featured over 10 astronauts, over 50 space workers, and all kinds of information that you can't get anywhere else, including today. Stay Curious today is a look back 100 years ago at space pioneers putting rockets on cars, motorcycles, and a giant gun to reach the moon, all to bridge the space between us. So let's get into this now. $46 is what we made. Thanks, Marty, on YouTube. All right. So and they're not even going to split that with us, Marty. So that's all right. Get it to pay the electric bill. All right. We have got 4 paid employees here at the American Space Museum and a whole bunch of wonderful volunteers. And Marty Winkle is certainly one of them, selflessly giving up his time 5 days a week, coming in about 3:30 and putting up with me to put another show together. So many of you met Marty and you know what a great guy he is. I couldn't do this program with the quality and enthusiasm without him backing me up and sometimes treat me like a big brother to straighten me out, because we all need that. But let's talk about this Saturday. Come to the American Space Museum or go to our website. Auction is at the top. Participate in our 20th charity auction where we have got 400 lots of items. It's going to take us till 7 o'clock at night to sell them. So if you're doing something on Saturday, you can come in late, but you can also not be there and bid on something by making your pre-bid now. Put the maximum level you want to go on there. If you put a maximum of $300, let's say, and the highest bid goes to $250 and you're the next one at $275, that's what you'll pay. So check it out. We had Chuck Jeffrey on here on our show yesterday to preview some of the autumn auction items. And we love talking about, of course, we've got the Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins cover there that Michael Collins gave us. It's up to, should sell for between the $5,000 to $8,000 up there. But Shuttles of June is what we love to celebrate. And we've got some Shuttles of June items in this auction. STS-4, the 2-man flight in the last test flight of Columbia. We've got a flag that was flown on STS-4 there and its crew activity plan that was space flown. Some good items to bid on there. And then, of course, STS-7 was in the middle of this month, launched on June 18th, where Sally Ride became the first American woman to go to space following 2 Soviet women earlier. And there's the crew sign, lithograph of all 5 members of the crew there. That's an estimated $200 to $300 there behind me. So we've got some Shuttles of June items in there. And one of the other real cool items is we've got the Prince Sultan of Saudi Arabia flew on STS-51G He was on Discovery in 1985, and this is a jacket that he wore with some custom-made patches Chuck talked about on there, and you can own that. I understand it's a size medium, Marty. That fits you good.
Yeah.
Be a little bit snug on me, so if you're thinking of Christmas, I'll pass on that, Marty. And of course, the Space Coast is abuzz with the Artemis rocket being out on the pad. I drove out there and saw it the other day and took this picture of it. Actually, this was the day of tanking. Yes, you can get that close from the Merritt Island Wildlife Refuge and pay $20 a car to go into the Playa Linda beaches, and you can see this from one of the stops off the road there. So we're looking forward. Marty, have you heard we're going to do another wet test or haul it in and fix that small leak and launch it here in a couple months?
Yeah, I heard it was a success, so I don't think they'll do another one.
Yeah, there was a good success that they had the thing fueled for like 3 hours and venting and everything. And towards the end, they had a breach of one of the seals up near the top of the thing. That's very technical. I really don't know where it was, but we're ready to launch this baby, and they're expecting the largest crowd in history, may even eclipse the Apollo 11 crowd of 1 million people to watch a rocket go to the moon, and we'll be talking a lot about that. Unmanned, of course. Well, we're going to talk about this man here. Fritz von Opel, who died 50 years ago this month, was born in 1899. He was one of the world's richest men, also a charismatic figure, skilled at public relations. He wanted to start his own privately funded automobile and rocket businesses with a goal to revolutionize both fields. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Yeah, of course, just like Elon Musk 100 years later. Well, this guy was quite a character, Fritz von Opel, sort of a daredevil. Daddy had the money. His dad, in fact, was called the Henry Ford of Germany, and the Opel car was quite popular back in the day. It was kind of a small car, as I remember, Marty. I should have.
It was.
Like a Carmen Ghia, wasn't it?
It's like a Toyota.
Like a Toyota, okay. And so his dad, Wilhelm von Opel, okay. So Fritz had a lot of money. His introduction to rockets came in, and this is his rocket car that he drove for the last time in 1924, something like that, and achieved almost at 200 miles an hour. And then the German government shut him down because it was thought it was too dangerous. There was a wreck on one after this, and then but he survived. Fritz survived the rocket craze there, but Germany was rocket craze back in the 20s, and we're going to tell you why here. This guy had a lot to do with it. A guy in history that many of you probably never heard of, Max Valier, all right? Max Valier, Valier, was an Austrian amateur rocketeer and space popularizer who advocated the use of rockets for space flight back in the 1920s. He was in the Society for Space Travel, which in German is Verein für Raumschifffahrt. Excuse my German. Raumschifffahrt. Okay. Society for Space Travel. Werner von Braun and Hermann Oberth were prominent members. All right. And this guy wrote a non-technical book based on some of these early ideas of rockets. He wanted to use rockets to propel ground vehicles, and then Fritz von Opel ran into him right there. And it was a marriage made in heaven, as Valier was interested in the first rocket-powered automobile they built in 1928. 2 years later, Valerie was killed when a small steel-cased liquid oxygen alcohol engine exploded during a test in the laboratory. All right, it was going to power this rocket car, and he got killed in a test here doing it. Sad, and he was really a pioneering guy. Could have done some great things, because he then met up before he died with this gentleman, Oberth, Hermann Oberth, Oberth. Hermann Oberth, and Max Valery in the 1920s, again, were members of this Society for Space Travel, and they amused themselves by redesigning Jules Verne's moon gun, the Columbiad. Now, in Jules Verne's famous book, Men from Earth to the Moon, he envisioned they went there with a giant gun firing. And here's a rendition of it. In fact, there was kind of a craze all aboard for the moon. They thought the way to go to the moon would be to create a gigantic rocket, Marty. Look at the scale there with people on the bottom. So they designed a gun that would be correct to that would correct Verne's technical mistakes and be capable of firing a projectile to the moon. The projectile would be made of tungsten steel. And here's their idea. Practically solid with a diameter of about 1 meter and a length of about 7 meters, so that's about 3 foot by 21 feet. Even using the latest gun propellants, a barrel length of 900 meters would be necessary. So that's over 2 football fields, okay? To eliminate the compression of air, they had it technically figured out. And they wanted to put the mouth of the gun above most of the Earth's atmosphere. It would be drilled into a mountain at least 4,000, about 5,000 kilometers high, or about a mile up is what they wanted to propose with a moon gun, Marty. Now, how crazy does that sound? Okay. Well, crazy enough that the U.S. Army, by the way, there's Oberth, okay, very famous. He's in the foreground there. Oberth is one of the 3 really recognized fathers of spaceflight. The other ones, of course, are the Russian Toskov, and then, of course, Robert Goddard. All right, Robert Goddard and his name, the Russian's name is like Tolstoy, or who did the waltz. But anyway, hard to pronounce name for me, but there's a Russian, and then, of course, Goddard, the American, and the German Oberth. And they all did things separately, and each accused each other of stealing their secrets, which they were all working independently. And with the lack of communication back in the 1920s and 30s, they probably did figure the principles out by themselves, all right? But so the Army came up with it. There's a famous picture of the fathers of our American space program. Yes, the Germans came into the American Space Museum after World War II. They came into America to the space program after World War II. We had somebody tout that the American Space Museum is promoting Nazis by talking about Mr. von Braun, and we're just going to tell that person, don't ever talk to us again, because you won't. We blocked you. How absurd is that, when if the Russians had gotten von Braun, they would have made it to the moon first. This guy, we don't get into the politics of how he got here. We're grateful that he did, and took the Saturn V rocket to the moon. But the Army, this guy Oberth, and the other guy here, Valery, all right, Oberth and his age there, and Valery came up with this moon rocket, moon gun, all right. And then years later, Marty, the Army created the High Altitude Research Project, or HARP for short. It was a native Canadian came up with this to fire a super cannon from the Earth directly into space. They did it. Well over 100 artillery round firings took place on the island of Barbados. This HARP gun right there is 118 feet in length, the largest artillery piece in the world. In October 1966, it fired a 185-pound payload 111 miles high, Marty, into the lower reaches of space, a world record that still stands to this day. The greatest amount of powder ever loaded into a gun, a half a ton, 1,225 pounds. So the velocity of the projectile was 6,800 feet per second when leaving the barrel, and it did go up 111 miles. Isn't that incredible? But that's not as incredible as talking about putting rockets on your car. All right. And there's the Opel, the auto-driven rocket car that they thought would save mileage. And now these were Brandon powder rockets, okay, that were, of course, solid rockets. It's like putting Roman candles on the back of your vehicle there. And uh, Fritz von Opel was the daredevil to do this, okay. Konstantin Tolstoyevsky, yes, thank you, from Faraka Roman. Thank you very much for correcting me. Tolskovsky, Tsolkovsky. Konstantin is the father of rocketry in Russia. And of course, we've got Robert Goddard and then Oberth. And they were all working at the same time in the 20s on liquid fueled rockets. And thank you, Faraka Roman, for answering my question there. We're glad that you're staying curious on our 600th episode. So, Marty, who wants to get into this thing? Me. Not me. Are you kidding me? Jeez, look at that. It's got like 20 engines on it. He did go almost 200 miles an hour in Berlin on this. And he did it on the same day, on this day in history in 1928, the same day Oberth was debating the German scientific establishment, trying to overturn their belief that liquid fueled rockets were theoretically impossible in outer space. That was a big thing. They thought that the vacuum of space, liquid fueled rockets would not work, that you would need the solid fuel rockets like a pop bottle rocket, which the Chinese invented 2,000 years ago. So, this was the 1928, all right. What happened in 1929? Stock market crashed. The whole world in America, stock market crashed. The world was affected. And this guy had to shelve some of his projects there as a millionaire back in the 20s. But here it is in action. Zoom! Opel 2. All right, he crashed in Opel 3, and then they wouldn't let him do Opel 4. All right. And the guy lived a pretty ripe old age here. I was looking for his little bio I pulled off there. Yeah, he lived to be in his 70s, the daredevil that he was. So quite fascinating. The Opel rocket car and two greats of rocketry, Max Valery and Herman Oberth, involved in the life of this Fritz Opal. So, well, viewers, we're really glad to celebrate our 600th show today with just a few comments, a few personal notes from me. I mentioned Bruce Jacobs, so meticulous about keeping us straight on the IT things. Over our 2 years here, we've got great friends out there like Dave Stange and Larry Pusker. Larry's been in our museum. We couldn't do it without you guys and spreading the word. And Carlton Bailey, thank you, Carlton, for being on our show a couple times, talking about his launch photography. We met Tom and Mark Usiak, the two launch photography freelance photographer brothers that have covered over 70 shuttle launches in their day, and Mark is coming down here to cover some of the recent rocket launches. And Tom and Mark, we appreciate your friendship because they also led us to artist Chris Calley. Hey, Chris. And we've got Chris's work and his dad's work ready to launch on T-shirts. And we're going to hold off on that till after our auction, so we don't swamp our staff here with two big projects at one time. But don't worry, you're going to get your Cali T-shirts in there. James Sigler's been a great sponsor of us. Pam Shivik, got to get Pam on the show here. She's a Buckeye like me from Lorain, Ohio. And she and her husband are outreach amateur astronomers, incredible. And Pam's been doing a lot of great things with the Association of Lunar and Planetary Observers with youth. So we'll catch up with that as we're going to be talking next week about Asteroid Day, which is June 30th. Keith Soul, thank you for staying curious with us. Beverly Rother, thank you, Beverly. Beverly's now, she was working at the Visitors Complex and a good friend of everybody on the Space Coast. And Beverly's now doing tours out at the Cape Canaveral Space Force. So, and Michael Haddad, Mikey, thanks for watching, Mikey Haddad. He is our expert on payloads on the space shuttle, and we had Mikey on Tuesday talking about the first integration of the uh, uh, MPass, they call it, which looks like a big something you'd hang laundry on, Marty, to hang actually experiments on back then. So thank you all for watching us on Stay Curious and telling your friends to watch. It's important to us that we keep growing, of course. We don't know where this video podcast is going to go in a world where there's so many to choose from. We have no illusions that of any greatness or anything, but we appreciate you all hanging in there with us in there and enjoying it. But I mentioned Angie Roberts, our assistant to our executive director. She's our finance director and has done a great job with us here, straightening out our finances. Anita Truex manages the whole office and our gift shop, and they all come up with good ideas frequently to help contribute to Stay Curious, and we need them and their input. Darren Roberts, our education director, also we'll have Darren on and talk about our education program here in a week or two. But my real big thank you has to go to Karan Conklin, our executive director, and I am so grateful that this woman has accepted me without a doubt. Karen, you have changed my life. I'm kind of getting emotional over it because it's really something to be involved with this museum at the level I am and have the confidence of this lady backing me and the board of directors all the way. There she is with, of course, Bob Cabana, who's now, this is when Bob was at our museum. And of course, he's the number three at NASA now in there. A great guy and a great supporter of our museum. There he is when he come to our event. And there's Karen and I doing an event with travel agents pre-COVID back then. And, Karen, I love you. And you just, like I said, she's changed my life by how this museum has backed Stay Curious and a lot of the projects that we put on together. I'm a man full of ideas. I try to be a man of action. And Karen, you certainly have given me the amount of space that I need, I guess is the way to put it, or long rope, because I can hang myself, okay, for sure. But we all have a great time here at this American Space Museum. It's a family, and we welcome you to join our family with Stay Curious, as well as you local people. We need volunteers, and we're going to be bringing some more regulars on board, including Terry White, the manager of one of the orbital processing facilities, is going to do a monthly segment with us, and we're going to be doing a lot of interviews here. A lot of things going on at the museum. I'll just mention we're going to be closed starting July 18th, probably for 2 weeks, as new carpet is put in our museum. Desperately need that, and we're going to launch the t-shirts, Cali t-shirts here to help, so you can help support our carpet fund there. So, Marty, anything else to say? Just wanted to tell Karen that again, I love you, and your husband Mark have done great things at this museum for almost 20 years, and she's been in the driver's seat here for the last almost 4 years, and we are in a great direction with our outreach, our education programs, and of course our wonderful audience that loves Stay Curious. So that's her little fur babies there, Ponyo and Milo on there. So that's part of her life there, Karen. So thank you very much, and thank you everybody here at the Space Museum. Marty?
And a couple of comments. First, Keith Soul said, "You're the only podcast that I actually listen to nearly every day, or listen at all. Hope your program reaches a lot more people in the future."
Thank you, Keith, is saying that he likes listening. Thank you, Keith. Thank you for your friendship and support of our astronomy club.
Yeah, Carlton Bailey, glad to be here for our 60th, 600th. Hope I'm around for several hundred more.
Thank you, Carlton's wishing several hundred more. They can't always hear you, Marty. We got to get Marty a microphone right on there, but I'm holding the microphone over to him there.
And Kimberly Thurston, your museum was a highlight to our trip to Florida.
Kimberly Thurston says our museum was the highlight on their trip to Florida. Thank you very, very much, Kimberly. You will find that we're humble, but we are packed with some items that you'll never see anywhere else. And I guarantee you, you spend the $60 to go to Kennedy Visitors Complex and then come here and put $10 down. And I'll bet you that you're going to like us equally as well as you did Kennedy Space Center. But not bashing them. I pay the $60 to see Atlantis anytime, but I paid $100 so I can go all year long and see that beautiful space shuttle anytime I want.
And just a lot of congratulations.
Well, thank you. Well, it is, and Marty, you too. I mean, you and Karan both support me, and it has certainly changed my life in a direction towards the end of my life. We're all senior citizens, and there's no illusion when you're looking at the backside of this thing called life. And to do what I love, since I was a little boy, it's just incredible. And the friends I made along the way, and can't wait to meet you and make you a friend out there. So, well, thank you all very much. The 601st episode will be Triple T, and another one of our gems that has kept this program going and you watching. Tales from the White Room tomorrow, Friday, with Triple T. And we've already talked about some of the things we're going to talk about. We're really going to take you up to the White Room from a different perspective tomorrow. So you want to check that. Please tell your friends to watch us on YouTube and Facebook Live. We've got all 600 episodes on Facebook, and we're about to have a year's worth now on YouTube. So, Marty, again, thank you. Thank our American Space Museum. I'm blessed and humbled with this program. And all I can say is, I love everybody for loving me. So I'm Mark Marquette, and we'll see you again tomorrow to bridge the space between us.